Let's look at something called Yega, which is esophageal constriction. This in Chinese medicine is something different than stomach reflux and different than the patterns of difficulty swallowing, which we saw with something like Bancha-Ho-Putang. This is a separate category and essentially implies a difficulty swallowing with food. So that's important, right? Because there is this deep relationship on the pulses between the esophagus and the diaphragm, but there's also an important anatomical relationship between the diaphragm and the esophagus, because if we look at the esophagus here anatomically. So another important anatomical link that we have has to do with the sphincters of the esophagus, and that is that the upper esophageal sphincter is skeletal ring muscles that is under nervous system control, right? And then the lower esophageal sphincter is the diaphragm. So that's really important, that this lower esophageal sphincter, there isn't a true sphincter in the lower part of the esophagus. That in the lower part of the esophagus, the sphincter is the diaphragm itself. So that's really important. So this relationship that we have, again, back to the pulses of the esophagus and the diaphragm is one which is almost like the diaphragm is the lower sphincter. So it's really important in that relationship that we see on the left and right side of the pulses.